Rufus, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome to another Devlog video for Homegrown. Today I'm going to be doing another day in the life video. The reason for which being that recently I've just been working on the save game system, which is coming along well, but there's just not very much to show. Doesn't make for a very good Devlog video. So I thought today I'd just do a quick day in the life video so that I can keep up this good upload schedule that I've been doing recently. So it's 7:30 at the moment, just heading back to the house with Rufus. I'll get some breakfast and then get started for the day. So, time to get started with some programming now. As I said, in the last week I've been working on the save game system, which is basically working. So here, if I close the game and then launch it again, you can see that it loads up in exactly the same state that I left off. I've still got a bit more testing to do with this. I still need to implement a main menu at some point so that you can choose which save you want to load, but in general the save system itself is basically finished. So today I thought I'd take a one-day break from working on the save system and implement another feature which I think I can get done all in one day. I'm going to try and get it all done today, and that is plants that produce fruit that the player can then harvest, and then the fruit will grow back, so the player is going to be able to harvest this fruit over and over again without harvesting the entire plant. So I'm going to get straight to work on that, and I'll show you how it's going in a bit. First up today, I've been making some slight changes to how the model stages work for the entities. So I've shown you before, the way that the plants grow in the game is that they have multiple model stages, and usually what happens is that each model stage replaces the previous model stage. So you start off with this model stage, that would then get replaced by this model as the plant grows, and that would then get replaced by this model stage. For the fruit model stage though, it's a little bit different, because instead of replacing the previous model stage, it needs to be added to the previous model stage so that the fruit and the plant get rendered together. So at the moment I'm just working on implementing support for these additive model stages. Just finished adding support for the additive model stages, and for now I'm testing it out with a model from my previous game, Equilinox. So it's a tomato plant, and you can see the final model stage is additive. So I made some changes to the entity files so that I can now indicate which model stage is additive. I added support for that into the code as well, and now in the game here I've got a tomato plant. Right now I'm just manually cycling through the model stages, and you can see that it all works as you would expect. That final model stage with the tomatoes gets added to the previous stage. Next up, I need to differentiate between model stages that are to do with the plant's growth and model stages that are fruit. So in the entity files, I've been making some changes to the growth component, so I can now indicate how many stages are just to do with the plant's growth. So you can see here I've said for the tomato plant it's just the first 4 stages that the growth component should be handling. So in the game you can see these tomato plants here, they're now growing automatically, and it stops after the first 4 stages. And the final stage, the fruit, that's going to be handled by a different component, which I'm going to start implementing now. Just been working on the fruit components, which is going to handle those fruit stages of a plant. Very simple at the moment. It just checks if the plant's fully grown, and if it is, then it runs a timer, and after a certain amount of time it produces fruit, and it does that by moving the mesh component onto the next model stage. So in the game, if I plant a few of these tomatoes, I can show you it working. So the tomato plants are going to grow much faster than they actually would, just for testing obviously, and then when they're fully grown they start producing fruit. Also, just for testing, I've made it possible for me to remove all of the fruit in the world, and when I do that you can see that over time that fruit regrows. Last up this morning I've just quickly made the item for the tomato seeds. Just made the item file and also made a quick icon for it, and you can see them in the shop here, so I can buy them and then start planting tomato seeds in the world. The icons, by the way, are all pretty much placeholders at the moment. I'll try and make some much nicer ones in the future at some point. And just a reminder, in general, the art in the game at the moment is just temporary. I'll be spending a lot more time in the future on the art style and the aesthetics of the game. Hopefully it will look a lot nicer when it's ready to be released. Anyway, I'm going to stop for my lunch break now. I think I'm going to take Rufus for a walk, and then I saw in the woods earlier today that there's a nice area of wild garlic. So I'm going to get some of that and then maybe make it into a pesto or something and have that with some pasta for lunch. Back to work this afternoon, and I've just started off by implementing a new fruit picking mechanic to the game, which I can demonstrate here. So when this fruit picking tool is active, I can click on any plant that has fruit and it removes the fruit or picks the fruit from that plant without harvesting the entire plant. I've just been creating the actual item that's going to allow you to harvest the fruit, which is these secateurs here. So if you select them in your inventory, then it activates the fruit picking tool and you can then go ahead and harvest the fruit. When you do this though, at the moment all that's happening is the fruit gets removed from the plant, but nothing's actually being added to your inventory. So the next thing I need to do is to create the tomato item and get that added to your inventory when you harvest it from the plant. So just finished creating the tomato item. I made its icon, did all of its settings, and then in the fruit component, in the harvest fruit method, it now creates the relevant item when you harvest the fruit and adds that item to the inventory. So that's the whole kind of life cycle of the tomato done now, so I can show you that in the game. So I can use the tomato seeds to plant some new tomato plants. They're going to grow, and when they're grown I can use the secateurs to harvest the tomatoes. The tomatoes now get added to your inventory, and then I can take them down to the grocery shop and sell them for some money. One of the benefits of working on a farming game is that it gives me a bit more of an excuse to talk about the plants I'm growing in real life. It's a bit too early to start growing stuff on the balcony, but I'm going to start preparing for that today by planting some coriander seeds. I'm going to grow them inside first, and then when the weather gets warmer I'll transfer them outside. Next up, I've been working on something I'm going to be doing a lot more in the next few weeks, which is tools that have different abilities and different properties. So if we have a look in the tool shop here, there are now two different types of secateurs. There are the normal secateurs that I showed you earlier, and there are now these power secateurs. They're a bit more expensive, it's a bit more of an investment, but if I buy them and select them in the inventory, you can see they have a much larger range. They can select a 2x2 area, and that obviously allows you to harvest the tomatoes a lot quicker. So I'm pretty much finished with everything that I wanted to get done today. I've got a bit more time though, so I think I'm going to finish the day by adding the first fruit tree into the game, and to do that I first need to make the model. Finished making all of the model stages for this new apple tree, and now I just need to make an icon for the sapling item, an icon for the apple fruit item, and then I can get it loaded up in the game. The apple trees are in the game now, so I've got these apple tree saplings which I can plant. They are obviously growing way faster than they actually would, and when they're fully grown, as we've seen before, they produce fruit which I can harvest, and when I harvest it I get apples, although only one per tree, so I need to work on that as well. But first I'm going to have some dinner. It's 9 o'clock now. I don't usually work this late, but I thought for the sake of the video I'd get this finished. So in the entity files for the fruit component, I can now specify how many fruit are produced by that plant. So for the apples here, for the apple tree, I've set that to 6, and in the game if I now go ahead and harvest one of these apple trees, you can see that it gives me 6 apples. So that's the fruiting stuff pretty much finished. Obviously, like everything else I've done in this game so far, it's just the basics. There's lots more to improve on and certainly polish up, but just the basics for now, and I'm very happy that I got it all done in one day. So that's going to be it for this video. Next time I'm going to be working on how you have to look after your plants as they're growing, so that's going to include things like watering them, weeding, fertilising, etc, etc. So I'm looking forward to getting started with that, but for this week that is it. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.